People aren't broken, and whatever they're carrying, there's always a way forward. That's true whether it's anxiety, grief, or a kind of pain that's never quite switches off. And it's true for today's topic too. Hi, I'm Gary Johannes, solution-focused hypnotherapist, founder of Inspired to Change, and the host of Moving Minds Forward. One condition per episode. What's going on? What's keeping it going? What's actually happening? And what actually helps? Let's get into it. So, chronic pain. This one's a little different because today I'm not doing this alone. But before I bring in my guest, I want to name something a lot of people living with chronic pain quietly believe and rarely say out loud. If the pain is still there, something in the body must still be damaged. It feels like common sense, and for a lot of people, it isn't true. Sometimes the tissue has healed, and the nervous system just hasn't got the memo. It's still sounding the alarm long after the danger's gone. That one idea changes the whole conversation, and that's exactly why I wanted today's guest. I'm joined by Claire Noyelle. Claire spent over 30 years as an NHS pharmacist, working alongside people living with long-term pain and medication used to manage it. She knows exactly where medicine helps and exactly where it reaches its limit. She's retrained as a solution-focused hypnotherapist and joined Inspired to Change. Based in Maidstone, where she now works with people on the role the brain and the nervous system play in chronic pain and fibromyalgia. That combination is rare. Claire has seen it from both sides, the prescription pad and the therapy room. So this isn't a conversation about ditching your medication, and it isn't a conversation that tells you your pain is all in your head. It's about understanding why pain can persist and what that opens up. If pain has been part of your life for months or years, and you've quietly started to wonder whether this is just how things are now, stay with me. I think you'll find this useful. Let's get into it. Welcome, Claire. Hi, Claire.
Lovely to be here. You know I love a podcast.
Yeah, let's start by introducing you. So tell us a bit about you and your experience, both as a pharmacist and a solution-focused hypnotherapist, but also then in both parts of your life from a chronic pain point of view.
So I'm Claire. I'm a pharmacist within the NHS. I worked for many years for one of the big chain stores, and I now work for an independent company. I've been a pharmacist for 30 odd years, which is a long time. I've been a hypnotherapist for 10. And one of the reasons that I decided to retrain as a hypnotherapist and start practicing was because I felt there was a gap where medication ended and nothing else began. So it's really worthwhile having the two things. And it's even more heartening to hear that actually the NHS is catching up. Their latest guidance on dealing with chronic pain now says you will never deal with chronic pain unless you deal with someone's psychological well-being alongside that. It's not just
Okay. So that's quite
hallelujah.
refreshing,
Yes.
isn't it?
Pick up on.
You've been practicing for 10 years and it certainly wasn't there 10 years ago.
No.
I did say many years. I didn't mention the 30 plus years. I was trying to
I think it's
soften that
30, I
blow.
think it's 33 now, which is a
Jesus.
long time.
So
Yeah.
I'll just keep it with many years so I
Yeah, that works.
don't get
Don't
the
make me feel
wrath of you. So I guess as a pharmacist, as a solution focused hypnotherapist, you've got your ear to both grounds so you can hear the slight changes in the NHS approach or what they're
yeah,
saying
that's
at
very
least. What listeners want to understand is what actually they're going to experience, and because they won't know that the NHS have a slight change in perspective necessarily, that might take a while to come through. So I think there's a lot of people I know from my experience, there's a lot of people suffering. So how can you as a pharmacist help? And then how can you as a hypnotherapist help?
as a pharmacist, some of it is about actually having those conversations with patients. We quite often see patients who we know are overusing pain medication. They're taking more than their recommended dose because that dose isn't working. So there's clearly something not there. We see that escalation in people. We see people being put on different kinds of painkillers, which is not huge amounts of successful evidence. So part of it is about having that conversation with people. See, you keep coming in. Is there anything I can support you with? That works over the counter too. We get so many requests for pain relief over the counter, and it's a fine line between who's using it for pain and who's using it because they're dependent. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
There
I
is
might
that.
be inviting you back to talk about
There is
dependency.
another escalation. So you see people whose pain is not being well managed. And unfortunately, they do seem to all think that the only route to dealing with pain is medication, where
Yeah.
you and I know there are other elements that need to come into that.
So let me get the understanding that we're just talking about pain, but from my understanding, there's different types of pain, and some which painkillers are really useful, and other things where that will not
Yeah.
necessarily work.
Yes. So acute pain, painkillers are absolutely the right thing. If you've put your back out gardening or you've sprained something, acute pain relief, absolutely the right thing. If you have end of life care, if you're looking at sort of cancer pain, tumor pain, or extensive damage due to some kind of operation, acute pain or is absolutely well dealt with painkillers. But that big gap in the middle where people have pain that just doesn't resolve, we define chronic pain as being 3 months or more, and it's that bunch of people who are probably not well served by just focusing on medication. There needs to be a conversation around that whole holistic care of looking at their support. And that's particularly important with things like fibromyalgia, with neuropathic pain, with chronic pain where the original damage is healed, but there's still a level of discomfort or pain after that. Those tend to be the big ones.
So are they the ones which are, if I went to a doctor and they go, physically, we've x-rayed you, everything's in place, we can't
Yes.
see any physical damage, there's no cause of the pain
Yes.
specifically, but you're definitely feeling real pain, but there's
Yeah,
no
and I think
sign.
those are the situations where people get very frustrated because your GP or your healthcare provider is telling you there is no immediate damage, so there shouldn't be any pain. But there clearly is. Pain is something that only you can measure. It's not something you can measure with any other metrics, no blood tests, no blood pressure, nothing like that. To have pain that seems to be from damage that's resolved is really frustrating. And the end message often ends up being, you're making it up, you're exaggerating, it's all in your head. When that really isn't the case. This is not an imaginary pain. But if we reframe that comment around it's all in your head, that's where you and I come in as hypnotherapists, because your brain is the central point for all of this. Your brain needing what pain actually is. So in that sense, pain very much is in your head because that's where it's created, modulated, modified, resolved.
But it's
But that's
felt
not understood. It's felt anywhere else. It's felt from the original part.
and
If
it's
it's
real.
real pain, it could be felt somewhere else. And it is incredibly uncomfortable. There is nobody that is being told it's in their head that is not genuinely in pain. And I think that misunderstanding of it's in your head really needs unpicking and describing better than most
So
people.
what actually is happening psychologically?
You can almost think of it as an app in your brain. Your brain has been receiving a pain message from that part of your body. Let's call it your back. It's been receiving a pain message from that part of your body for so long that your brain has almost got, okay, this needs to be dealt with by a proper program. And it's created a little app in your brain that deals with that pain from my back. The pain could still be happening even when the back issue is resolved because that app is still running.
Right.
Nobody, nothing has told your brain it's all good, we can turn that off now. Your brain has got so effective at processing that pain, it runs without any other stimulation. That sounds really counterintuitive to how we all think about pain, but it's like your brain has got stuck in a kind of loop. It's got so used to it that it just keeps playing. A little bit like the echo that you hear in your ears after a big, loud concert. Maybe you wake up the next
Right.
day, your ears ringing. It's not, you're not hearing it, but it's still there because there's a little bit of a loop that keeps playing in your brain. Does that make sense?
Oh, I can remember many a concerts I could hear all the way home.
Absolutely, we've all done that. But that's the best parallel that I can find for why that's still there
Yeah.
the next day. And
So the
obviously,
signal stays on long after the
you'll
body's
stay
healed.
switched on. That your brain is trying to help you process that information more effectively. And the most effective way to deal with that information, that pain signals, is to create a separate program that then runs so efficiently your brain doesn't need to think about it. That's very helpful in that pain context. But once that pain has served its purpose, once the damage is fixed, there's no need, but it's stuck.
And painkillers, and there's lots of different varieties and versions, go after the physical damage.
Absolutely. They won't touch what's in your brain.
So what do we do as hypnotherapists?
Oh, we do lots of things. So the first one is give people the idea that this is not imaginary. You're not making this up. We believe you that you are definitely in discomfort. And while that sounds so simple, it's often the biggest thing that people need. I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong. I just need to retrain my brain, which is how we like to think about it. You're telling your brain, you're safe now. You can let go of running that program automatically. You don't need it. There is no data coming from that part of your body. And we support people to tune into their body and realize that, but also train their brain to update that information.
Okay. And if we do that, how long do we need to do that for that app or that message
Yeah,
or the
that's a really
signaling
good question
system?
because it's a really hard thing for me to give you a number of sessions for. For most things, we work really quickly. 8 to 10 sessions is about average for us. For things like chronic pain, it will be a lot longer because we've got to deal with the level of upset and overwhelm that person's experiencing. What we talk about when we say empty the bucket, get rid of all that background stress and anxiety. But once we've done that, it's about convincing your brain that it's safe. And then once we've convinced your brain that it's safe, that program takes a little while to unpick. If you had a big scribble on the bathroom wall, you're not just going to cover it with one layer of paint. It might need 2, 3, 4, or 5. Not as sessions that we need to keep wearing away at that. But we don't all do that on our own. The client does most of the work. It's not about me fixing my clients, not least because they're not broken, but it is about working with my clients, taking them step by step when they're ready to deal with something, the next small thing that they need to get on top of, to convince their brain that that's okay. I can let go of that loop. I don't need to keep reprocessing that information. It's historic. Don't need it. Gone. But that takes a while to unpick because our brain is so good at picking up habits. It takes a long time to work out them.
Do you, from your experience, does stress and anxiety hinder and make that pain worse?
Hugely, for lots of reasons. One is that we worry about what will happen if it never goes. We worry about what each situation will be like. Will going to a cinema cause a flare of my back pain? Will sitting in the car cause me a problem? What if I can't deal with that? So all of those kind of worries put people off doing things. But stress and overwhelm itself raises the level of stress chemicals within the body and brain that then enhance that pain signal.
Right.
So dealing with stress, anxiety, overwhelm, choose your vocabulary, will make that pain less intense to start with. And we all know that intuitively. We know when we're on holiday, when we're relaxed, reading a book or sitting by the pool with a cocktail, we're a little bit less uncomfortable. And that's why, because the stress has gone down, our brain is recording that pain level as less intense and we can deal with it better.
And pain itself causes stress.
Oh, absolutely. So we come at it from lots of different angles all at the same time. We teach people why they feel like they do. We explain to them a couple of different ways they can help themselves, even between our sessions. And then we work on each little thing step by step to break that cycle and get back in control.
So we're not actually working on the pain. We're working on the
not really.
causes
Not
and
really.
the circumstances of our lifestyle,
Yes.
which keep the pain flowing.
And that can feel quite counterintuitive because when people go and see a doctor, the first thing you're asked is, what's wrong? Whereas when you come and see us, we know what's wrong. You're here because you're in chronic pain. We don't need to keep talking about that. That's done and dusted. We know that fact. What we work on are the factors that exacerbate it. So we make it much more tolerable for somebody. But there is a level that relaxation helps. That's one thing. But it's not the main crux of what we do. It's a lot more. It's sneaky. I often call it ninja therapy because we're not talking about the problem. We're sliding in from the side and dealing with all those other factors that make it worse.
Yeah. And as we get more control, we can manage our pain better and slowly but surely the app stops engaging.
Absolutely. And the more control people feel they have, we open up that space in their day where they're not in pain, they realize that it's possible. The more they realize it's possible, the more confident they feel that they can do things. And when they do things comfortably, they realize that if they can do this, I can do more. And they gradually reopen their life to all those kind of experiences they've missed, step by step.
And I guess that's given the brain more evidence of what they can do rather than their negative forecasting, which has been giving them evidence of what they can't do.
Exactly that. So focusing on what you can do, even now at the very beginning, what are you capable of doing? What's comfortable? What can you cope with? If you do that, how much better is it?
That sounds pretty cool. So, as a clinical hypnotherapist, solution focused, what 2 or 3 tips would you give to someone who's currently suffering with any level of chronic pain, fibromyalgia, or any other sort of chronic persistent pain?
Understand that there's a way forward. That's the first thing. Medication is helpful to a point, but there are so many other factors that influence pain, and we haven't got time to go into all of those now. But I think it's really interesting to note that the use of painkillers is highest in areas of low employment, high poverty. That speaks to a psychological link. So it's not just the level of pain that someone's experiences, it's the rest of their background and their environment too. So there's always something we can do to improve that. The second thing is they have more control than they think. And if they focus on the things they can do, tiny as they may be, it just reinforces what they are capable. There's so many little things they can try, but focusing on the small wins, it sounds so trite and so minimal, but focusing on the small things you can do in your day, the small moments where actually the pain is less, and get those gaps bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's cool. So, it's only a short podcast. We've now done our sort of 15, 20 minutes. So, if somebody wanted to find out more about Claire, have you written blogs or articles or done anything where they can find out more about what you do?
They go on the Inspire to Change website. There's my page, Mind Over Meds, at the bottom of me. So find my page and you can scroll down. There's some blogs on there. But there's blogs on the I2C web Inspire to Change website that talk about all kinds of things to do with pain. And they're not all, and that will have an impact.
Yeah.
Boosting your confidence will have an impact because we're dealing with the stress and anxiety that exacerbates.
Okay. One of the reasons we do this podcast is to help people know that there's an answer, there's a way forward, moving minds forward. And you've just done that beautifully. So massive thank you for that. And I will be inviting you back to talk about addictions.
I'd like that because the two things overlap, don't they?
They
because
do.
One of the things I really enjoy is supporting people to minimise their dependence on medication. Often, in a quest to be pain-free, people are overusing their medicine. So if we can give them a little bit more control over pain, they need less medicine. And that's always a good place to start.
Fantastic. And I think you've done a great job telling people where to find you, which is on the Inspired to Change website. They can find Claire and all the other associates, and we've got a nationwide network of people. So thank you very much, Claire. And you never know, we might do a follow-up to this one as well.
I think we should, because it's a big area. And I think even with just that sort of 15, 20 minutes, we've barely scratched the surface. But I think one of the nice things maybe people would try is to look at the website and download our relaxation. Don't underestimate simply relaxing and just letting yourself go. That's a good place to start. So I'd encourage people to try that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on to the Inspired to Change website. Download one of the relaxation. You've not just got Claire, you've got every other associate. So if you don't like the sound of my voice, you can choose Claire's or somebody else's, and it will massively help in all areas of your life. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
I want to thank Claire for that. 30 years of watching what long-term pain does to people from behind the pharmacy counter, and then choosing to spend the second half of her career helping people change their relationship with that pain from the inside. That's not a small thing. And I don't think it's a coincidence either. If anything in that conversation sounds familiar, here's what I want you to take from it. Chronic pain is common. Current NHS guidance puts it around a third of UK adults, rising to over half of people in their late 70s and beyond. So if you're living with it, You're not the exception, and you're not imagining it. But here's the other thing Claire made clear. Pain that lasts isn't proof that something in you is broken beyond repair. And it isn't proof of ongoing damage either. Sometimes it's a nervous system that's learned to stay on high alert, an alarm that's kept ringing long after the danger has passed. And a system that's learned a pattern can, with the right input, learn a different one. If you take one thing from today, take this. Your brain is already listening to everything you tell it about your pain all day without you noticing. Start noticing it, not to deny what you're feeling, just to see how much of the story your mind is adding on top. Let me speak directly to you. If this is you, you're not broken, you're not making a fuss, and the same brain that has spent months, years learning to amplify this pain can learn something different. That's not me being kind. That's neuroscience. Understanding what's going on is where it starts. You've just done that. If you found this useful, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. There's a lot more to come. One condition per episode. What's going on? What's keeping it going? And what actually helps? And if you'd like to find out whether Inspired to Change can help you with chronic pain, we have a nationwide network of solution-focused hypnotherapists across the UK, including Claire in Maidstone. You can find your nearest therapist, read more about how we work, and book a free initial consultation at inspiredtochange.biz. The link will be in the description. See you on the next one.